another episode of the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show. And y'all know y'all out here trying to be all perfect and such, right? So today we're going to be talking about the mask of perfection, finding authenticity in work and in life. And I have just the most perfect person to lead us through this conversation. And we're going to jump right into it right after this. Oh, well, let's see here. Okay, well, you know what? We just gonna jump right into it.
Okay.
Listen, how it all works together. So yeah, welcome Malaysia Harrell to the show. Welcome, sis. I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Kiki, for having me on your amazing show. I love the work that you are doing. And so I've been waiting for this opportunity.
Me too. We have so much in common.
Yes.
We do some of the similar things. One, we have a love for speaking and pouring into the lives of people, into women.
Yeah.
And so I'm so excited to have this conversation because as a coach, I see this happening so very much. I was actually just at a speaking engagement last week, and I was talking to the audience about stress. And one of the things that came up was just this whole thing about us being and wanting to be perfect. And
Yes.
so, this conversation I know is going to be good. But before we dive in, I want you to introduce yourself to the Dr. Kiki fam.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Kiki, again, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Malaysia Harrell, and I'm a board certified psychotherapist. I've been doing mental health therapy for almost 30 years now. I know I don't look like it.
You know, girl.
You were like
But we
30
don't never look like
years? Like, I
it.
can't even believe it.
Yes.
And, I retired from active duty after over 20 years of service last year.
Oh,
And I
congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah.
And I founded Blissful Life Consulting in 2017 to help individuals, groups, and corporations with mental health and holistic wellness services. And we'll talk about my story a little bit, but of course, I didn't think I would be retired right now. I wanted to do 30 years, I wanted all the things. And my life trajectory changed, and so I really moved over into really the spiritual transformation coaching, where I help high achieving women go from mere success to soul fulfillment, because there is a difference. And so I just love the work that I do, and as you said, I get to speak all over the world. And also, I have a book coming out, so my authorship, and I just love sharing and basically giving back. I feel like the second part phase of your life, after you go through something that's so traumatic, you really want to use that time to give back to society. So,
Yeah. Wow. I love it. I can't wait to get into the story.
yes.
Because I think, it's important. And I do think that we go through certain things so that we can give back and share. And so I'm so glad that you are actually doing that and using your voice to pour
Yes.
into other people because, baby,
Yes.
honey, we need it. So,
We do, and it's helpful not only for everyone else, but it's helpful for us too, as part of the healing process. When you have all these conditions and you hold it all in and your spirit is
mhm,
holding on, we don't do those cleanses enough, and then we're like, why is my body not the way? Why do I have respiratory issues? Like,
absolutely.
so you got to get it out.
You got to get it out because the body keeps score,
The body.
right?
Oh, I went to his training.
Woo,
Oh, it's
listen,
so good.
we got to talk about that offline
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I know that was
Yes.
like
Yep.
just, life changing because it does. I read the books and everything
Yep.
like that because it
Yep.
is the truth,
It
right?
is.
So, well, tell us what your biggest, I'm a positive psychologist.
Yes.
And so I study happiness, I study strengths. And so I always think that we all have a superpower. So tell us what your biggest superpower is.
I think I probably have a couple of gifts, that
Mhm.
God has given me to be able to do what I do. But one of the biggest superpowers, I was going to say one, but I think I'll say the other one, is being able to connect with others and help them realize and get clarity on their purpose. And
Mm.
it may sound cute, like a hashtag, like, oh, we got to get clarity. The clarity, people call themselves clarity coaches, but it's on a spiritual realm though. It's not,
Mm.
in your wake ego mind.
Right.
And that changes the game because once you're obedient to what that is, then people see their lives change so dramatically. So I
Mhm.
had this spiritual gift since I was a child. And it's one of them is we all have spiritual gifts, but it's called clairsentience. And so I have the ability to meet with people and feel things. And so
Mm.
I get these intuitive nudges based on our interaction. Not everybody, but it's kind of good and not always good because sometimes I've encountered people and I had a supervisor, and every time I was around him, I experienced darkness. I mean,
Mm.
complete darkness. And I was like, I didn't, how do you even explain that? But I
Right.
knew. And he could not stand me. He couldn't be with me a long time at all. Like my spirit, like it just clashed.
Ooh,
Yeah.
child, listen, like, get away, like, ASAP.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people that you have to get away ASAP.
Yeah.
So, well, listen, I think that can be good, but that also can be scary for some people too,
Scary.
right? Like when you voice that.
Yeah.
And so I know that, people can be spooked by some of that stuff, but, sometimes, it is what it is.
Well,
And
it's
that,
not like I could read their mind. Like I don't
right.
have where I can read someone's mind or I could,
Yeah.
nothing like that. But it's like a feeling that you get. So it's almost like your
Mm.
intuition is on 100. And many people have those gifts.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
women too, we have great intuition and
We
we
do.
need to sometimes lean into it more because
Yeah.
it'll probably keep us out of some
Yeah.
trouble that we get into. So, all right, so we're talking about the mask of perfection, right? Like,
Yes. Hmm.
as a coach, I see so many women who, just walk around and think that we are always supposed to be perfect. And I was like that at one point in my life as
Yeah.
well. And it can get to be tiresome, and it can hold you back. But what does the mask of perfection truly mean to you and to personally or even professionally?
Yeah. So the mask of perfection is basically when you're living life on other people's terms based on, these set of values that have been bestowed upon you, maybe when you were coming up. In the African American community, you hear, what do you hear? What goes on at home stays at home,
Yep.
right?
You
And
do.
so anything that you talk about, any experiences that you have, you weren't open to talking about those things or expressing those things. And that creates, this dynamic of how you experience the world. And so I knew there was a lot of trauma and with myself and with the clients that I've helped over all these years. And so people who've experienced a lot of trauma tend to want to show this mask because they don't want the world to see the true them. And
Yeah.
because there's shame, there
Yeah.
is embarrassment, there are so many things that are associated with that. They think you're going to judge them, they think you're not going to hold them in high regard. And so I remember as being active duty all those years, and even before that, I had a career before that. People didn't see, they didn't see it, right? So I
Hmm.
hit it
Yeah.
so well. I would come out, you be dressed to the nine, everything. And
Yes.
that's the way, a lot of us were taught. And so really removing that is when you start to walk in authenticity.
Mm.
All the flaws, where you're from, you'll hear my accent come out sometime. I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts,
Okay.
and it's right outside of New York City, between
Right.
Connecticut and New York. So when I get excited, you hear a different dialect. You hear me
Yeah.
talk a little different, and so just being able to remove that mask, that's when you start to really be free. And when people
Mhm.
are overweight or they're struggling with their health, they'll see that they'll start to get healthy. Their weight will just come off. You don't have to work out 10 hours a week. I mean,
Yeah.
it really changes the game.
Yes, it
Yeah.
it really really does. Well, tell us your story around this. Like, how has this affected you in a personal way so much that you now do this work?
Yeah. So, of course, like I said, I was very successful in life. Good and great in school, had all the titles, and so in 20 no 2001 September 11th, when we had the tragedy of the twin towers, it hit me so significantly in my soul. And that day I said I was going into the military. And so that day, I
Wow.
made that decision.
You
And
made
I
that
had been
decision
in
on that day?
I did. I watched
Wow.
that and I said it. I was at the Baltimore Public Defender's Office, School of
What?
Social Work in my internship, and I looked at the TV and I told everybody I was going into the military. I had been in junior ROTC in high school, and I did 2 years of ROTC in college, 1 year
Mm,
Army, 1 year Air Force. I was trying to see, and they had taken up all my, youth years because I didn't get
yeah.
to do all the fun things. I was like in uniform, and I'm like,
Mm,
I want to live. Like, so, but it wasn't until then, that I made that decision. And, again, the military is actually perfect for people who need validation, right?
yeah.
Because you're constantly getting these, well, not everybody, but you have
Yeah.
the opportunity to get all these awards, these titles, move up ranks.
Mm,
It is very validating. And on the outside, and it wasn't until 2019 when I started to question things. And you'll see how this really changed, because when you ask God a question, we're not always ready for the answer. That's the biggest thing. So don't ask questions that you are not prepared for the
mm,
answer. So let me just start there. So
mm.
I got promoted. I was 16 years active duty to captain slash colonel, depending on which service that you're in. Most people don't achieve it, and especially when women of color. So
Right.
it was like I made it. I mean, when I tell you I worked so many hours, I mean, I did everything, every committee, volunteer, my life was not my own. And when I made it, I said, oh my goodness, I have to call my Nana. My Nana, when I was removed from my mom's house as a child, she raised me and she wasn't alive. And I was like, oh, my Nana's not here. I wanted to make her happy. I wanted her to see my life. And so it hit different. It wasn't, I'd worked so hard for this, but I felt empty inside.
Oh,
And I'm like,
wow.
where do I go from here? Why do I feel this way? So I started asking some questions. Again, feel like you need get questions answered on the spiritual realm. When that happened, guess what happened right after 2019?
Whew, COVID, honey.
Absolutely. So the pandemic came. I get deployed to the Navajo Nation. When I
Oh,
got
wow.
there, it was very traumatic. Let me just say that I was
Oh,
the
wow.
lead behavioral health provider for two medical centers in the incident command response team. There was so much death there. It was like one of the reddest zones in the world, because of the, death per capita. And so, and then I'm hearing the stories that I didn't hear in the textbooks. So I almost started having this like experience. I just didn't understand what was going on with me.
Wow.
Anyway, get home. Of course, if I was having an acute stress reaction, what do? We know what to do. I worked out. I was working out crazy.
Mhm,
Like, let me get this off me. Let me get this trauma, this pain, or whatever.
mhm.
So one night, get up. I couldn't walk. Went through a
Right.
series of events. Again, I'm somebody I could take care of myself, even though I has my husband. I crawled to the bathroom on my own. I didn't want to wake him up. He gets up. What's going on? Because I'm in the bathroom crying on the floor. And so ultimately, I was hospitalized at Walter Reed Medical Center. It took a while though. I was trying to treat myself, and my girlfriend was like, "You're going to overdose on Advil. Like, your liver's going to shut down." So I was like, no, I did hard things before. I did
Right.
bodybuilding races. This is nothing. So anyway, went to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 4 days. The doctor comes and says, Captain Harrell, we can't find anything. We're sending you home today.
Uh,
Now, at that point, I was in death pain. So, Dr. Kiki, I knew I was transitioning. Right. And at that time, I didn't tell them, and I didn't think about it, but my grandmother had came into my dream to tell me it was time to go with her. But now I know she was coming to warn me. But I was like, good, like, when we going? Like, sign me
right.
up on the butt. I get to be with my Nana and not go through this craziness. And so anyway, I advocated for myself. I told them, you can euthanize me. No one can deal with this pain. They ended up taking a sample. They brought in a psychiatrist to evaluate me. Now, imagine, Dr. Kiki, you going to the
Hmm.
doctors. You never were hospitalized. You never hardly
Right.
go to the doctor. And they say they bring in the psychiatrist and you're a mental health provider.
Right. You're like, okay.
Really? Is this a somatic symptom? Am I imagining this pain? Because I was
Mm.
like, like, I was questioning, like, am I really imagining this? I couldn't
Yeah.
believe. So anyway, they do the sample, take they come back in the room, everybody's rushing in, and I had sepsis.
From where?
And so I don't know how I got it, but it was in my left hip, and that's why I couldn't walk. I believe I got infected something at that's what I believe at the
Wow.
deployment.
Wow.
I believe it was the water because you couldn't drink the water there. I was on the reservation. They didn't have running water in their homes, and one thing that was interesting. So normally when you go places, even if you're doing philanthropic work, like you don't douse yourself in the
Mhm.
water. You get in
Mhm.
and you get out.
Yeah.
I was taking baths every day because I was trying to cleanse my mind, body, and spirit.
Right.
I was like, I went to I had to go 3 hours away to get to Walmart, but I'm putting the stuff, doing these luxury baths to
Right.
try to, keep myself going with resiliency during this
Right.
experience. So normally you don't soak in the water that much. And I had cut myself on that leg. So that's just, I don't have any
Right.
evidence, but
Yeah.
spiritually, that's what I believe happened.
Yeah. Oh my God. So
Yeah.
what how do you treat sepsis? What did they do after
Ooh,
this
so
whole thing?
surgeries, like when I tell you I was on a pick like 24/7, I had a intravenous needle. They were giving me antibiotics. And so after that happened, I had two surgeries that same week because they tried to go in and irrigate it and clean it out. And they had to go back in because it couldn't have taken out, it was spreading. So they had to go in and actually cut the bone, take the bone out, and put a spacer in until all the bacteria was out of my body.
Mm.
And then several months later, they did another surgery. So it was so impactful on my body. So that all happened. My body started to change. So that was like August. In January, February, I was going to my stylist. I'm, on my walker, and she's like, Malaysia, you're losing your hair. You should go to the doctors. Now, she was making units for people with cancer. So for her to say that, so I was like, oh, it's just stress. I know, I'm taking all these meds. And, I got up to 254 pounds, like all this stuff was happening. So she was like, no. So anyway, again, you go to the doctors, you get gaslighted. Oh, they're interrogating me about the bonnets that I'm wearing. They're interrogating me about the
Mm.
braids that I had when I was a little girl. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
not knowing, I just had sepsis, and then ended up in the hospital again in April because I thought I was having a heart attack or a stroke. And I went in again. They took an X-ray of my chest. I had all these nodules, so they thought it was cancer. And it was sarcoidosis, for those of you who are familiar with that. The
Mm.
day I get diagnosed officially, it took them about 6 months to diagnose me. But when I got out of the hospital in April that week, I got Bell's palsy. Went back. If I have if I need palliative care, like let me know what's going on. So anyway, it took them about 6 months. The day that they officially diagnosed me, because they wanted to rule out everything, they said, oh, we have this care coordinator, and we have a support group, and we have something that happens every year, and we're going to bring her in. And, and I said to her, and she was a woman of color, and I'm like, I'm really nervous. I don't know anything about this disease. I don't remember any family member having it. I've never heard of it. She goes, yes, you did. Bernie Mac died of it. That's the first thing she said to me.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, great. Is that how we're, you know what I mean? So
Like,
I
what
could
is that supposed to mean to
with
like,
like advising her on, I'm a mental health provider. Maybe I can come back and talk to you all, or you could have, some clinicians on staff to help
mm,
diagnose, to help people when they get I could not ever be, I had to be a provider at all times. And
wow.
so, of course, I'm on fight or flight the whole time. So you can't heal like that.
Yeah.
So it was just a challenge.
Wow. I mean, talk about the way things turn,
Yeah.
right? Talk about like just how things like change and turn and I mean, goodness, you went through so much. So, how did that ultimately affect how you showed up in
Mm.
life? Because now you then going through all this kind of stuff
Yeah.
and you got to heal, but how did that affect you in the way that you show up now to like
Yeah.
everything else in your life?
Yeah, so when you face death in the eyeballs, you have 9 surgeries in 5 years, you're on all these meds, you come to a crossroads, right? Because I've been this perfect clinician and leader and senior leader working on a hill, working with the White House, all these things. You meet the road of, okay, who am I now?
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy because I was fighting it. I wanted to stay active duty. Like I'm Bogart. Look, I want to make Admiral. Like you not, and I had to surrender. And I got a tattoo on my arm that says the art of surrender. And I
Wow.
needed to do that because I basically had to have a conversation with my higher power, right?
Mm,
And it was like, if I'm gonna live, I'm not living like this. Like that's not happening.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what do I need to do to surrender and be obedient and get clarity about what my calling is? And
Mm,
so it was a lot of things that I did, going to other retreats, in different places in the United
mhm.
States, and just really getting clarity and going deep. We have to do our own deep soul work as well. It's like,
Absolutely.
great, you're helping everybody else. But like you said, you need to even start the healing process. When you don't acknowledge what the issues are, you're never going to be able,
Yeah.
and a lot of us are in denial, right? No, I'm perfect, I'm gonna be fine, I've been through so much already in life, this is nothing,
Right.
right? So that's
Yeah.
what you're thinking. And so I surrendered, and my life, my trajectory changed so much, all the weight fell off, I couldn't really work out, I still experience pain and a lot of things, but
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not, no one knows what I went through. I don't look like what I've been through. No
Yeah.
one would ever know unless I show you the pictures. And it was during COVID, so no one knew. A lot of people didn't
Right.
know. And so I'm here to basically be that guide
Mm.
to say you
Mhm.
can get through it when when life is bleak, when it's so dark and you're in those dark valleys and tunnels, and even the people around you who love you do
Mm.
not understand what you are going through. That is when you have this opportunity, right? Because I'm already so low, I'm deep in the gutter.
Right.
So the only place is to go but up. And so
Right.
I show up in my authentic self now. I'm
Mm.
able to transition and be, this spiritual transformation coach that helps people to really look inside themselves.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people, you know, um, my I did this because, my mom said I had to do it, or I had to, my family, I'm carrying on a legacy of this. And a lot of people say, oh, or when my children get through college, or when they get through, then I'll do this. But how do you know that you're going to be here?
That part.
Like that's
That
the
part.
arrogance that humans have, that
Mhm.
I'm going to
Mhm.
be able to do it later. When I was in that bed and I thought about, oh, I wanted to do a bodybuilding show and I never got to actually compete. It's serious.
Yeah, it is so funny. I love every bit of this because you are just, you are preaching. I remember when I lived in Maryland
Yeah.
and I wanted to move to Atlanta, but money. all the things, honey, like,
Yeah.
kids and just all that kind of stuff prevented us from moving at the time. And I was like, well, and I needed a new pot set for the kitchen. And I'm like, I don't want to buy a pot set till I move to Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, about 5 years passed, and I'm like, you know what? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I need a new freaking pot set. So I'm going to go buy a pot set, right?
Yes.
And then ultimately it took us almost, 18 years to
Yeah.
move, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm up here waiting and not living life, and we do that often. So let me ask you this, right? Because there's so many things I want to ask you around this, and we don't got a lot of time. But a lot of us, especially women, I really feel like we mix up excellence and perfection, right?
Mhm.
Like there's a difference between being excellent and
Yeah.
trying to be perfect. Can you explain the difference to us?
Yes. So being perfect is, I mean, number one, we are made in the image and likeness of God. So we're already perfect. But what
Hmm.
society deems perfect is when you don't show any of your flaws or any of your pain or any of the struggles that you're having in life. So I only show you the cute pictures on social media. And a lot of us do. I mean, I don't want you to come to my page and get depressed, right? On the
Yes.
days that I can't get out of the bed or I got a headache or whatever. But excellence. And I remember there was a quote in the Air Force that said, service before self and excellence in all you do. And I had to really reframe that because it's like service before self. If I don't
Mhm.
have self, then I don't have service, right?
That part.
But excellence is doing the best job that you can. So if you were representing, your mother, your father, your spiritual, God, how can you represent and show up in the most authentic way where you are doing the very best that you can without, because if your cup is being, emptied out and
Mhm.
basically smashed, then that's not what God wants to show the world,
Yes.
right? God
Yes.
wants to show that, hey, this is how you can live life. It doesn't have to be a life of struggle. We're taught in a lot of, ways and cultures and ethnicity that struggle is it. I gotta,
Mhm.
and I do believe that there are things that we need to go through as far as challenges, because when we get to the mountaintop, how are we even gonna know how to be able
Yeah.
to maintain what we've been given if we haven't experienced anything? So if somebody just gave you $1 million and you don't know anything about how to manage it, people coming at you and this and that, you're gonna be like, you're gonna fall. You're gonna
Yes.
fall.
Real.
So you need to be, that strengthens our muscles, spiritual muscles, physical muscles, mental muscles, all of the things in order to be excellent at what we do.
So, as we're going to be closing out soon, but
Okay.
I want you to leave us with something, in terms of how do we, give us a tip or a tool, about how do we find authenticity in work and life? Because I mean, that's really what this is ultimately about: is
Hmm.
learning how to overcome ourselves, get out of our own way, because
Yes,
we be in our own way,
absolutely.
right? And try to find that authenticity. I know I had to go on a journey myself when it comes
Yeah.
to finding authenticity.
Hmm.
And much like you, when I did find it, I was like, oh, well, baby, this is who I am. Like,
Yeah.
you either like me or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you don't, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep on, I'm gonna keep on being. But that was a journey for me. So what can someone, do who's listening to the show today to start on that journey?
Yeah, so getting still is the biggest
Mm,
thing. Because you had talked about how to be have authenticity in work. I
yeah.
don't think we should ever work a day in our life. When you're
Woo!
doing what your calling is,
There
it's
you
not
go.
work. This
Come
does
on.
not feel like work to me.
Me neither.
Having a beautiful conversation, having different platforms to be
Hmm.
able to spread this positive information to people, that's not work.
No.
All right. So that's when
Yeah.
because people are like, how do you balance? There is no balance. You do what your ministry is. There's no
Yeah.
such thing. When I'm doing what my ministry is, I could be here doing anything, but I'm still doing what that thing is. But the biggest thing is getting silent and getting still. You're not at, no one knows the calling on your life. So how are you going to ask somebody else what the calling on your life is? Does that make
Woo!
sense?
Girl, yes. all day.
They haven't been given the vision.
All day. I talk a lot about being in the 5 a.m. club,
Yes.
4 or 5 a.m. club. And so
Yep.
that's my time to get up. And I love the time because ain't nobody up, ain't nobody
Yeah.
sending me no emails, don't send me no texts.
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty much sleeping. So that's when I get still. And when I'm stressed, I make it my business to get up and get still with my Bible, all those things because
Yes.
it's time. So, oh my God, I love it. Oh, we can continue it because I got
We're
so much
gonna have
stuff.
a part two.
We
We're gonna
gotta
do
have
a
a part
part
two
two.
because I'm trying to tell you, we suffer with this so very much.
Yes.
So until then, tell everybody where they can get in touch with you, what's going on with you, if they want to reach out.
Okay, so I'm on most social media platforms, Malaysia H. Harrell on Instagram and on LinkedIn and TikTok and all the places. I have my websites, malaysiaharrell.com and also blissfullifeconsulting.com. And so you can reach out at info@malaysiaharrell.com if you're interested in having me speak on one of your platforms or any partnerships, workshops, or if you'd like to work to get clarity on what your divine given power is, and we can make a plan so that you can walk in it.
Oh, thank you so much, Malaysia. This has been such a treat for me, a
Thank
treat
you.
for the
Me
audience,
too.
and we gotta, get us on for part two. But thank you so much for being here. Hey,
Yes.
everybody. If you are looking for community, please join us in the Thrive Society. You can go to drkiki.com and click on Thrive Society to see all the information about joining this community of like minded women who are all out to find their own happiness and their strengths. All right. Well, thank you all. Well, I appreciate y'all. As always, you have the opportunity to create your own happiness. So go out there and spread a little bit of joy. Talk to y'all later.
Have a great
Bye.
day.